Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. The Florida primary is now behind us and the 10-week sprint to the general election begins. In the governor's race, there were no real surprises as both Democrat David Jolly and Republican Byron Donalds won their respective primaries and will face off in November.
Together, we will not just be defending the Florida dream, we will take the Florida dream to a whole new level.
A coalition rooted in the everyday majority that understands the economy should continue to grow, but it's got to grow for everybody. That we embrace capitalism, that we let the private sector lead.
That should be a good one. But the real shocker of the night was Angie Nixon defeating retired Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman. Vindman was recruited by Democratic Party leaders to run for the Senate. He had raised more than $16 million and was already looking ahead to November when along came Nixon, who raised less than $1 million but seemed to be everywhere. Nixon will now face Ashley Moody, who wasted no time attacking Nixon on election night.
I want you to look at the election results tonight. My opponent will be a self-proclaimed socialist that proudly signed up and joined the Democratic Socialists of America.
And Nixon immediately fired back.
Some folks like Ashley Moody like to claim the mantle of morality, yet their actions tell a very different story. But we put actions behind our words. So Ashley Moody can call it whatever she wants. She can call us whatever she wants. But in November, she will call me senator.
Now, I sat down with Nixon after her win and started with the question on everybody's mind. How did she do it?
We won this campaign because of good old-fashioned grassroots, people-powered organizing. I am a former union organizer. I'm a community organizer. And I know the importance of going out and talking to people all across the state if I wanted to, in fact, become their next United States Senator. And that's what happened. We talked to people and we kept it on the issues. We didn't make it about personal attacks or anything like that. We really focused on what the needs and concerns were that we were hearing for nearly this past year. And so I am super excited that folks saw me fit to make me their Democratic nominee, and we believe we'll be successful in November as well.
In looking at an analysis of some of the voting, it seemed like where you really had your key strength, you won across most of the state, but Duval, the Orange County, Osceola area, and then Florida District 24 really voted for you in overwhelming numbers. And I'm wondering if was it really about the DSA label, or do you think it was more about the African American community and the message that you had on economic issues?
So it was actually the efforts that we did just on the ground. We spent a lot of time all across the state. I saw that even in Escambia County, it went for us. And that's because we've spent time there and we talked to people and we talked about the issues that they cared about. It wasn't about labels. And we can argue all day about labels. I have a lot of them attached to me, right? But at the end of the day, it's about the needs of the people. And I have shown that throughout my entire adult career, I am always about putting people first. People over politics, people over profit, and even people over party. And I don't agree with everything and every organization, like everyone's full platform. Like that's what makes us great in this country, right? But I do want to be clear, Jim, like I am not a socialist. I am someone who just really cares about people and believe that hardworking everyday people should get to shape what our communities look like and what our economies look like. I believe that everyday people should be the ones that are telling us lawmakers the types of policies and the types of legislation that we should be putting forward. You know, I was a single mom for 12 years, Jim. I know what it's like to struggle and to have to make the tough decisions on whether or not I have enough money to go buy my daughter her asthma pump, or do I have to choose between that or putting food on the table? Those are decisions that people here in the state of Florida and across our country should never have to make.
So you said something a second ago that I want to go back to because you just flat out declared, I am not a socialist. So if you're not a socialist, why did you join the Democratic Socialists of America?
So the Democratic Socialists of America, because they fight for access to quality health care. They're fighting for allowing people to have control of the government. They are fighting to make sure that our schools are fully funded, fully funded. They are fighting to make sure that people have housing. We have veterans that are living on the streets. We have educators that are leaving the profession and actually leaving the state of Florida because they can no longer afford to live here. And so, I believe in a big tent. And I guess you can say that I'm more of a social democrat, so to speak. But I am joining organizations. I joined the Working Families Party because they are fighting for working people.
Where do you disagree with the DSA?
So I do not believe in abolishing prisons. I believe in abolishing for-profit prisons because I don't believe in exploiting cheap labor, having free labor in the form of those folks who are incarcerated. I believe that there is a direct correlation between these Republicans trying to destroy public education so that they can usher our children into the school to prison pipeline so that they can make more money off of them. I don't agree with defunding the police. I've never stated that ever. I'm not supportive of that. I'm just supportive of people-focused, people-centered policies.
So one of the things that you're going to get hit with, even though you now say you're not a socialist because your attachment to DSA earlier in the campaign, Ashley Moody is going to refer to you as a socialist. You're going to see, tens of millions of dollars in advertising branding you a socialist or a communist. Ashley Moody is now referring to you as comrade. How do you combat that? And especially in a place like South Florida, where that conversation is often a very painful one for those people who fled Cuba, who fled socialist regimes, communist regimes, and whose family members lost their lives to those regimes. How do you win those people back and convince them that you're not a threat to them?
So I go and I have conversations to them. I want to be clear, Jim. They were already labeling me all kinds of things, radicals, extremists. They're going to do that regardless because they can't find anything against me in regards to saying that I'm going to hurt people. Like, I'm not about that, right? So they will make things up. And so I'm going to go talk to people and have real conversations with them. I don't run away from conversations, even if it makes me uncomfortable. If I want to be the next United States Senator, I have to have conversations with people and listen to them, even if we differ ideologically. And look, at the end of the day, I understand how folks feel in regards to extreme regimes and executives. Like, we're under Donald Trump.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me jump in and just sort of say this. DSA, just in the last 10 days or so, on the anniversary of Fidel Castro's birthday, 100 years since he was born, put out a statement praising Fidel Castro. Do you think Fidel Castro was a good leader? Do you think Fidel Castro is somebody who should be praised?
I don't believe he's someone that should be praised. I also don't believe that Donald Trump is someone that should be praised as well. But I want to be clear. I am putting people first, and I care about people, and I care about the trauma that people may have experienced if they were over in Cuba or any other area where socialism was a thing. But I also want to highlight that we're feeling a lot of oppression and trauma right now in America. And we have to do things differently. We have to put the government back in the hands of the people and to allow people to decide the types of policies that we want. And overwhelmingly, the people are pushing for universal health care. The people are pushing for us to have fully funded public education. The people are pushing to ensure that we get these private equity firms out of buying up all of these single family homes. Single families should own single family homes. We are tired of working harder than ever with nothing to show for it. But meanwhile, our government under Ashley Moody and Donald Trump want to continue to bail out these big corporations, but don't look out for these small business owners. They don't look out for these people who are working hard and getting less and less and less. I am looking out for the regular everyday people because I am a regular everyday person.
I know you don't believe that the the social media post by Rachel Vindman was a big factor. Here's where I thought it was relevant, and I just want to get your thought on it. There were a lot of people, I think, who weren't sure whether or not to embrace you. And I think you've had, I think it's fair to say, at times even a challenging relationship with your own caucus in the legislature. And yet, when that post came out, and it seemed so, and it was clearly so disrespectful to you, to an African-American woman running for the United States Senate, that it hit a nerve, that it angered a lot of people.
I don't think it necessarily sparked me getting any more votes, but what it did bring up and highlight is the fact that people are struggling, right? I have 5 kids between me and my husband. We have a blended family, a beautiful family, and it's hard right now, right? I shop at Goodwill. There's absolutely nothing wrong with shopping at Goodwill. Number one, they have great deals. But number two, they're also helping me lower my carbon footprint. So it's also an environmental justice factor for me. But again, that goes back to what I stated earlier, Jim. Hardworking, everyday people should be the ones that are determining the direction of this country, our economies, and our communities. We don't need elitists just running this country. We don't need just the billionaires and the millionaires and the doctors and the lawyers running this country. There's nothing wrong with someone who was a 12-year single mom who now owns a bookstore and coffee shop that helps employ neighborhood kids. It's nothing wrong with me running for United States Senate. We should be encouraging hardworking, everyday people to run for office because they are the ones who these policies that we would pass would actually help benefit, right? And so I'm happy that it came out, but I'm happy in a way in which I've been able to allow folks to realize that they are enough. There's nothing wrong with who they are. They should be running for office. There's nothing wrong with not having a lot of money, right? We are all Americans and we deserve the same things to be healthy, prosperous, and safe. And I'm definitely going to fight for that. And that's what I'm fighting for right now.
When we come back, we look at the congressional races. Stay with us. Welcome back. The congressional races are set. On Tuesday, Jared Moskowitz trounced his Democratic Socialist rival, Oliver Larkin. Moskowitz will now square off against former Boca Raton Mayor Scott Singer. Former TV newsman Elliot Rodriguez will take on former TV newswoman Maria Elvira Salazar in District 27. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz won her primary in a racially charged election to see who would represent the voters in District 20. The entire affair left Wasserman Schultz a bit emotional.
I want to thank the voters of District 20 for having confidence in me, this is such a difficult time.
Take your time. Take your time.
Take your time, Debbie. Take your time. Take your time, Debbie.
This is such a difficult and fraught time in our country. There is so much at stake in this moment. And I want people to know that representation matters. It matters. And I will fight to make sure that representation counts again.
And because that district is overwhelmingly Democratic, let's face it, Kamala Harris won it by 37 points, Wasserman Schultz should easily be reelected in November. The same goes for the winner in District 24 that saw a flood of negative ads in the Democratic primary to replace Frederica Wilson. The winner in that race, Oliver Gilbert. I spoke to him after his big win. When you woke up Election Day that morning, you thought you were going to lose, didn't you?
No.
Come on, really?
Jim, listen, why would I think that?
Well, look, you had $2 million in negative ads dumped on you. There was a poll that had come out, turns out to be a terrible poll, that had you well behind. I know people inside your circle were like, this could be a long, bad night. And you're really honestly going to sit here and tell me you knew you had this in the bag?
Oh, no, I'm not going to say that. What I'll tell you is this. I didn't think I was going to lose, and this is why. And let me give you the other side of the equation. I had $2 million in ads, and it was really more than that, right? It was 2.2. And before that, Chevron had spent a couple $100,000 in negative ads against me. But they spent 1 million, and then they felt it necessary to try to spend another. So them spending that second million told me that it didn't actually work. Also, that's on the other side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, I spent about 4 hours in every afternoon and evening walking door to door. I walked voters myself with teams. I walked voters. So I dropped a bunch of weight. I'm several shades darker. But when I was walking voters' houses and knocking on their doors, people weren't just saying they were supporting me. They were saying, hey, can we have a sign in our yard? Now, people might lie about supporting you, but they don't lie when they ask for a sign in their yard. And so when I'm running out of signs every time I go out walking in places like Miramar and Liberty City and North Miami, not Miami Gardens, you can't tell me that somebody's beating me by 9, 10, 15 points. It was the most ridiculous thing.
We know those ads were put together by a group called Protect Progress, which is a lobbying group for the crypto industry. Obviously, nothing in the ads related to crypto or anything related to it. They were targeting you. Do you know why the crypto industry wanted you in their crosshairs?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that people who gave millions of dollars to elect Donald Trump were spending millions of dollars to make sure I didn't go to Congress. And when you start to actually piece that together for folks, what they say is, well, if they did want Donald Trump and they don't want Oliver, and we don't like Donald Trump, then we must like Oliver. I don't know that the ads had the effect that they thought they did. And when you take those ads and you look at the polling that was coming out, I knew the polling was wrong. But independent of knowing the polling was wrong, I knew something else. I knew that people knew me from our first year baseline poll. People basically knew me. And I knew that people trusted Congresswoman Wilson, and they trusted Mayor Cava, and they trusted me. I just had to remind them. And so we spent that last week and a half reminding them.
Do you have strong opinions, views on the crypto industry? What do you?
No.
I've never actually had a conversation with you about crypto. I don't know where you stand on it.
I don't have strong opinions about it. I don't have strong opinions about it. It's interesting, Jim, because people think that we think that the way things are is how they have to be. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I know that paper dollars is a relatively new invention in the context of human civilization, right? And so I don't know that everything will always be the same. I don't have strong opinions about it. I literally have no idea why they attacked me.
I want to broaden out a little bit because I think across the state of Florida, one of the stories, because of the race in 24, because of the race in District 20, other races that were going around, there was a higher than average African-American turnout across the state of Florida. And I know, and I'm curious as to your thoughts. I think that benefited Angie Nixon in her surprising win. How surprised were you by Angie Nixon winning in her primary? And what did you take away from her victory?
I wasn't surprised at all. I endorsed Angie early on. So the Democratic primary, it's very difficult to have a Democratic primary candidate in a statewide election who doesn't engage at all with the Black community. If we're speaking honestly, Alex didn't. So I'm the former chair of the county commission, former mayor of the largest Black city in the state of Florida. By any accounts, whether I won or lost this election, I am a notable Democrat that people reach out to when they come to the county. I never met this guy. I mean, that's just real. So what it tells me is that if you're willing to go and meet people where they are and talk to them and tell them your ideas, independent of a title, that you can actually get support. I think he took for granted a nomination, and people said, you know, we get to have the last say. And that's my outtake on this election generally for my race also. Listen, I'd never seen anything like the money that was spent against me, Jim. I'd never seen anything like that in such a compressed period of time, especially. But what we know now is something I've been preaching to folks. Listen, money is money, but people ultimately have a say. We ultimately get to decide. You get to make a decision whether you believe that ad. You get to make a decision whether you know this candidate. You get to make a decision whether you're going to vote based on what all of this stuff that they're saying, or a record that you can see and ideas that you believe in. You get to make a decision. And so that's when I look at those two things together, it fits for me. It fits for me because she actually came to early voting and passed out papers. She walked the streets in Little Haiti. She went places where the voters were. She went places where the voters were. And if you're willing to go and talk to voters where they are, especially in a Democratic primary, and your opponent isn't, well, I don't know how anybody really was surprised that he lost.
You are in now a seat that was fought for by Carrie Meek, carried on by her son, and then held for an even longer period of time by Frederica Wilson. How does that weigh on you in terms of the responsibility? Do you feel a responsibility with the background and the history of that seat? And where do you take it from here?
I think the weight of this seat historically is extraordinary. Congresswoman Meek, Congressman Meek, and Congresswoman Frederica Wilson Frederica Wilson, our Congresswoman, she is an extraordinary public servant. When I think about having the ability to serve in the same capacity that she served us so honorably, it's humbling. I said this the night of the election. I really don't want to disappoint her. Like Congresswoman Wilson, my parents have both passed away. They idolized her. Like my mom and my dad, like she could do no wrong. That her service was the type of service that they defined real service as, service that actually impacted people and impact people. And so, yeah, it weighs on me. I definitely want to make sure I do right by her legacy, and continuing the things that she's worked for, whether it be the 5,000 role models, the veteran housing, the infrastructure projects, the parks that she's building that she's gotten funded across the Congressional district, all the many things that work with our seaport that powers our economy. She's working on things. I want to continue those things for sure. I also want to expand it. I want to do things like bring the SBA hyper-localized here to actually try to break some of the cycles of poverty. We keep talking about breaking cycles of poverty, but we need to give people an opportunity to be job creators and not just job seekers. We have talent here. We're powered by small businesses. We're powered by small businesses because South Florida is the best iteration of the American dream that you're going to find. People come here willing to work and build, and we can do it. I think that it's incumbent on us to try. It's within our capacity to make this better for people, Jim. And those are real ideas, real problems, not talking points. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and try to make life better. That's what Congresswoman Wilson has done. And I think that honors her legacy.
We'll be right back. Well, that's all the time we have today. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to contact me at jdefede@cbs.com. Oh, how I do enjoy hearing from you. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.